sorts that we started last year for the National Day of Racial Healing. Um, and we had a program that was conducted at the Ron Robinson Theater, and it had um, beautiful students, creatives from Philander Smith College that performed. And of course, because of COVID, we are unable to do so, but what we can do, we will do. And so it was to memorialize those victims of racial terror lynchings in the way that we speak their names. And in speaking their names, we um, we recognize and we um, ignite, if you will, the spirit of the person that was once here. And so we pay homage and respect to their lives because we know that their lives meant more. Um, and we know that their lives were valuable and invaluable to their families and the people who knew them. And so speaking their names gives that power and that respect. And so today um, we speak their names in a way that we recognize, because last year we did Pulaski County. So we had about 27 victims of racial terror lynchings in the state of Arkansas in Pulaski County. There are over 492 documented victims of racial terror lynchings. And so and so because our net has spread far and wide throughout the state, there are other communities and counties that are memorializing the victims of racial terror lynchings in our state. So we can't just do 27. We have to do all 492. And with that, what we're going to do is just show the map. I was going to if I can have a sharing privilege with you guys, I wanted to show a map. And then I also wanted to show a clip of Brian Stevenson speaking on peace. And as some of you know, EJI, the Equal Justice Initiative, is what really sparked the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement. And we are fortunate to be able to be partnered with EJI. And so we're gonna play just a little video of Brian Stevenson speaking. And then before that, I don't know if Dr. Danielle is on call right now with us. And if so, let me know. Excuse me. But if not, we're going to keep going until she does. Sign in and on. I think the time, there was a time confusion with her. And so my apologies, Denise, if you were thrown off by anything, but we're gonna keep going. And then when she logs on, she is going to help assist and facilitate with the lifting of hands. Before we start, I show the map. And let me see. Was I given any sharing privileges, Emily?
I did make you a host.
Okay. I don't see that little green drop down deal. Let's see.
Trying to share your screen, you said?
Yeah, I wanted to share my screen if we could.
You should be able to, is there one on the bottom? A share screen
Okay,
button in green.
there we go. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Here we go. Let's go to our map. I wanted to thank, while I'm finding our map, I want all of our partners and all of our sponsors who just showed up and did and they do, and you guys do so much. Thank you to UCA, who is the host site, as working with us diligently with this program, hosting the site, just doing so much. And so we're so great that other partners, Just Community Arkansas, of course, who was actually our first partner, and still we so appreciate you, Donald, if you're on. Thank you for everything that you do. And the Arkansas Municipal League, we had a great program yesterday, which was the reading of the proclamation yesterday, and it was, I would say there were over 80 municipalities involved in the signing of the proclamation, mayors, county judges, even Little Rock School District president and superintendent signed the proclamation, and it was really, really awesome. And so the program was wonderful, and we really appreciate being to be a see. Let's hit share. Okay, there we are. I'm sharing my screen here because I wanted you to see the map that's on our website. It is on the Arkansas. If you want to see this map, it is just go to type in Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement, or you can go to apjmm.org. And these different tabs are named for different social justice leaders in just all over the world, actually, whose shoulders we stand on for sure. And so you can go into Monroe Nathan work history site, click on that, and then or hover over it, and then you'll see the map, and then you'll see a list of victims documented in the Encyclopedia of Arkansas. You can also see the county remembrance groups. And then, of course, we have information about the hanging judge in our state, Judge Isaac C. Parker, who was known for, unfortunately, unjustly hanging men, women, and of African and BIPOC descent people of color, period, mostly African Americans in our state. So once you click on that, which I'm already in, you just scroll down and you will see the map. This map was taken from the Equal Justice Initiative's website, was shared with us, and um, it has on it, if you've ever visited EJI, there is, and you've ever gone to the Museum of Enslavement and mass incarceration, then you will see, um, it's an amazing museum. And so if you ever get a chance to, and once they are open, and I'm sure they have COVID protocols happening or getting that together, then you will see all of the history of how, um, it's a timeline actually of injustice. Um, and so this is one of the maps that sits in a database type um, computer that's sort of in the middle. And you go, and all you have to do is click on an area, and it will let you know where, the in what state. Arkansas is third highest in racial terror lynchings, um, and along with other sister states. Of course, Texas, Oklahoma, um, other other states is the third highest. So 492 is what is the number that EJI derived or received through research. And the research is with two, um, and I wouldn't say qualifiers, but two identifying um, articles or some type of history, printed, archived, or what, to identify the victims, and that's how they derived on the number. And actually, with the historians that we've been so fortunate to work with here in the state, Dr. Brian Mitchell being one, by Lancaster, um, um, Story. We've been working with just numerous others, historians, Griff Stockley being one. He doesn't like to be called an historian, but he definitely is. He's an attorney, but he is definitely a history buff. I would call him that. But he has done a lot of work. They have all done a lot of work. And in their research, and also working with students and colleges, universities, and also high school and middle school students. In this particular map, we were working with high school students, who was working on a project with us with the location of this map in Arkansas. And so when you hover over this, you will see, and you can click on it, and it will give you names. It will give you dates, and it will also give you the county. So if you are doing any research on that, or you need information, you can go here. And again, you can also go to the Encyclopedia of Arkansas, which houses many names and information. And I was saying that with the help of our local historians, that they have come, there has been more than 492 victims And and we know that there are more. Um, we don't all have all the names like the qualifiers, but there is evidence of that. Um, let's scroll up here. This is our some of our timeline. Um, when you click on a name, this will bring the name up and continue to scroll the names through. This is a Monroe Work Today map that gives it just a different dynamic of how you are viewing these victims here, and how you're able to view this map and see the concentration of victims. And that is the map that is on our page. You can also, uh, any other, let's see, let's go here. You click here, you can also see, I'll go home. You can also see you'll also see letters, information to the judge that I was speaking of. This is actually Judge Alban Winiger Tergui. And there is a ton of information here on our page that you can use as a resource, and that's what our site serves as, is a resource of information. And so now I am going to, from that map, I wanted to show you, I'm going to go out and see. We're going to go to I think what we're going to do next is go ahead and watch Brian Stevenson speak on peace and the importance of achieving it. We are here celebrating again the National Day of Racial Healing, and I was in an interview, a phone interview today, and in that phone interview, we were talking about the importance of remembering and how important it is to remember. And the broadcaster was he asked the question, how important is it to remember? And I use this thing, and I talk about this all the time, this phrase, past is present. And it's true in that if we are not taking the time to remember, to know our history, to know what to do, to know what happened, so that we can work in a solution space, and work on how we can, in a preventative space, how can we prevent this from ever happening again? A never again space. If we do not know that history, if we do not remember, if we don't remember, and then if we don't honor, we are doing our communities, the victims, a disservice. And so we have to, it's it has to be a an important part of our advocacy is remembering. And when we remember, we're able to not just reach back, but also help families to come to some sort of um, closure. And in that closure, there is also healing. And so we want to make sure that we are remembering, because when we do that, we are practicing our empathy, and we are we're able to, because those families remember. We talked about how when we do not honor and remember those who were unjustly taken from this world, that there's a generational trauma that happens, that there is no closure for the family members who have experienced that. So healing starts with remembering. And we can't heal if we're trying to erase those things that that caused us trauma. So I just wanted to say that. And I'm glad that this week we are practicing remembering and healing. And I am going to share my screen again and play the video, if I can get on that. Let's move this down a bit. Here we are. Okay.
I want to affirm how you don't have to be embarrassed to say, I'm trying to change the world. I think we can change the world. And I have a simple little prescription. I think there are 4 things that we're going to have to think about, that we're going to have to commit. We're poor and suffering and marginalized. And we think we can change the world by staying just on Harvard's campus, by staying in places of power and privilege, staying just in our elected offices. If we care about injustice, if we care about inequality, if we care about poverty, if we care about disability, if we care about addiction and dependency, we're going to have to get close.
Clarice, I think you muted the video when you muted yourself. I'm not getting any sound.
Do it because you've been given a narrative.
Are you able to hear it now?
That makes you think that that's justifiable. The third thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to stay hopeful. You have to protect your hope.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can.
We can hear it now. Okay. So when I muted myself, I muted the video.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Can rattle.
Let's start over. My apologies.
I want to affirm.
Give me just a second.
you don't have to be embarrassed to say, I'm trying to change the world. I think we can change the world. And I have a simple little prescription. I think there are 4 things that we're going to have to think about, that we're going to have to commit. We're poor and suffering and marginalized. We think we can change the world by staying just on Harvard's campus, by staying in places of power and privilege, staying just in our elected offices. If we care about injustice, if we care about inequality, if we care about poverty, if we care about disability, if we care about addiction and dependency, we're going to have to get close enough to those who are poor and excluded and neglected, addicted and dependent, to understand the nature of that problem. Second thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to change these narratives. We have mass incarceration in America because we declared a misguided war on drugs. We said that people who are drug addicted and drug dependent are criminals. For alcoholism, we said that's a disease. If you know somebody who's an alcoholic and you see them going to a bar, you don't think, oh, we better call the police. We have a different framework. But for addiction and dependency, we said those are criminals, and we've locked up hundreds of thousands of people. Now, I think that narrative has to change, because I think what allowed us, what made us comfortable with those policy choices is what I call the politics of fear and anger. And I'm here to tell you that if we allow ourselves to be governed by fear and anger, we're going to tolerate things we're not supposed to tolerate. That's how you get comfortable with inequality. That's how you get comfortable with injustice. That's how you get comfortable abusing people in ways that are clearly indecent and wrong. You do it because you've been given a narrative of fear and anger that makes you think that that's justifiable. The third thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to stay hopeful. You have to protect your hope quotient, your hope dynamic. Because sometimes being in spaces like this can rattle you. The faculty are brilliant, but they're trying to complicate the world for you. And sometimes when the world starts to get complicated, you lose hope that you can do the things you thought you could do. You begin to actually no longer believe that that world-changing thing you were hoping to achieve, you can achieve. And so while you are dealing with the complexity of the world, you're going to have to affirmatively work on protecting your hope. Your hope is vital to your capacity to change the world. I actually believe that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. Injustice prevails where hope is. The fourth and final thing we're going to have to do, and this is a hard one, we're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable and inconvenient. Because we do not change the world by only doing the things that are comfortable and convenient. And I hate that. Because we're humans, and humans are biologically and psychologically programmed to do what's comfortable. We like comfort. And that means that we're going to have to make a choice to do uncomfortable things, to change things. I tried to research my way out of this. I did. As a faithful alum of this university, I looked and did some research, and I tried to find an example where justice prevailed, where equality triumphed, and nobody had to do anything uncomfortable or inconvenient. Can't find any examples of that. I've learned really simple things during my work. I believe that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. I believe that for every human being. I think if someone tells a lie, they're not just a liar. I think even if you kill someone, you're not just a killer. And justice requires that we know the other things we are before we judge you.
All right. No. All right. Thank you for watching that with me. Let's get us back here. All right. All right. Let me look in the chat. I love that justice requires that we know the other things we are before we judge. Absolutely. Thank you, Sky. I totally wholeheartedly agree. Yes, for resubmitting that quote. It was so perfect. Yeah. Yes. Any discussion on that? I mean, when you watched it, what things came up for you? Like, we're talking about, you know, our title is lifting of names. Yes, I am. And I probably didn't introduce myself because I was rushing on. So I am Clarice Barbara. I am one of, it's over here, right there, conveners of the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement. And so I was saying, what? And see the video. Did you just sign on, Barbara? I'm reading the chat, guys, so forgive me for breaking my conversation with you. If you just signed on, you just missed it. And it basically was Brian Stevenson. And he was talking about the challenge, how, basically his overall was, how do we change? How do we change? How do we change the world? What challenges that we need to face to do that? And we use the being uncomfortable term. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Yes, that is the link to. And so the OV video will start at 6 o'clock. Yes. And so what comes up for you? We're talking about lifting of names is, and I can't really see who is here. There she is. Dr. Denise Donnell is here. Hello. We talked about that. We're talking about the lifting of names and honoring those who have been victims in our country. And we have a list of 42 current in the last 5 years victims of have killed in the unarmed victims who were in police custody. And we just wonder, how and why. And if the proper training and the empathy was there for those who were detained, would they still be alive? And so, those are all questions and all things we think about when people are unnecessarily taken from us or taken from their families. And so what I would like to do is take a moment before we wrap up, and let's see. And I would like to say, if you want to mute yourself and talk about the subject we're talking about now, which is honoring and lifting the names of those who have been taken from us. And we're just not talking about the 492 victims of racial terror lynchings or the 42 people who were killed, unarmed victims who were killed in the hands of police and from excessive force. We're talking about those who have been killed that maybe someone who's had whose family member has been a victim. And so, and maybe it's a personal thing for you that we lift up those names. Dr. Denise Donnell says there's been plenty of training, courses, and classes, yet we still die at the hands of law enforcement. Something else is at work here. And I totally agree with that. And Dr. Denise Donnell, would you please come off mute and unmute yourself and talk a little bit about that and help us to wrap up our session here. Okay, don't know how.
I think Denise needs to be made a panelist.
Got you. Okay. Let's get to you. There you go.
Hey, here I am. All right, hold on.
I forgot that I was host privilege, and I keep forgetting that.
I think that when we spend time talking about the need for law enforcement officers to be trained more or to have more classes added to their, I think that gives them an escape to say, oh, well, they're just not, they just don't know do it, or they just haven't had the necessary, they're not skilled enough to know what to do in these situations. But that's a lie, because we see them use whatever techniques they know to use. When it's a white person, we see white people who are armed and dangerous be taken into custody without incident. We've seen that time and time again. So the training is in place, the courses have been taken, skills are there, but when it comes to Black, non-white folks, then those skills go out of the window. And so I don't want to give the satisfaction of saying, well, they just do better. You do better. And I think better is that way with this. I can't get away with that. And then that's the way you operate.
I agree with that we do offer an out at times when we are talking about the police officer, and there is the training. What are we going to have those things? And there is some, but we all know that, and I think underway now, and I'm hoping is that they are receiving training in mental health awareness. That's an easy course to take. I am a certified mental health, emergency mental health person per se. And what I do is I don't diagnose. I'm a first aider. It's called first aider. I don't diagnose. I've been trained to recognize mental crisis. And so that's a full day course that you can be licensed in. And if we start, whenever they have these certifications and they're trained on how to identify someone who is autistic, which is because sometimes they don't understand some of the some of the body language and the things that a person who is autistic actually need to feel safe or to be calm in a situation, that they need that. And if we start held accountable for getting that and making those things mandatory, that once they come before a a committee and they've not done these things, then we can say, okay, you have taken this, have you've had this training, you know.
Yes, but I think that
Mhm.
for me, it doesn't matter if the person is autistic, nor does it matter that the person is mentally ill because they're Black. So the training has, so I see Black first out of my implicit bias of what it means to interact with Black folks. So if anything, if we need training around something, it needs to be unconscious bias. It needs to be your implicit bias.
Yes.
So that when you see a Black person and you feel some kind of way, you can arrest those thoughts of bias and you can put them to the side and check and see, person autistic, is this person mentally ill? But first, get rid of your perception of Black folks. And that only comes with implicit understanding your own implicit or unconscious bias. And it's interesting that you said that, Clarice, because we just had a bill to drop in the House of Representatives that's saying teach in our schools, in our and universities, anything that's going to help people see that they are racist.
Right.
And so then when you talk about, well, you know, I'm going to be able to took this training, we're not going to be able to say that they took because the training works to them.
Right.
And we're right back where we started from.
We're right back where we started. Wow. Barbara. Barbara, go ahead and put what you want to chat, because I is set up like a webinar to make you a panelist in order for you to speak. So if you have a statement or you wanna, I can read it off, I think. Isn't that right, Emily?
Yeah, if you would like to join in the conversation, you can drop something in the chat.
Yes, okay. And while she's doing that, I am going the go in here and pull up the 42 names. We are actually at 554, and we are going to be getting ready to getting ready for a discussion, mini and a panel discussion. So give me just Okay. Thank you all for waiting and being so patient. Um, I'm going to share my screen for a few minutes that we have with the names of the 42 unarmed Arkansans killed by law enforcement in 2015 to 2020. Let me go back here. And while I'm doing that, Dr. Denise Dano, will you lead us in something to think about? I'm gonna, we want a moment to look at these names, but would like for you also to lead us in something some things that we should be thinking about.
You ready for me to start?
Yes, and I'm trying to make sure that, yes, there we go. Go right ahead.
Reminded this year on Wednesday, January 6th, 2021, we are a country of domestic terrorists. Our public acts of desecrating, particularly non-white bodies, but specifically Black bodies, and inequality, spewing hate and getting away with it, did not start this year, nor did it begin in 2016. Terrorism was baked into the DNA of this country at its inception. It is the only thing that allows us to call ourselves the United States of America. For that reason, everywhere we go, no matter where we stand or sit or recline, no matter where we work or play or pray, we do so in spaces where the blood of our ancestors and the blood of our contemporaries runs alive and well beneath us. So right where you are in your home, in your city, in your state, the cries of our ancestors and our contemporaries for peace, for justice, for healing, for wholeness, scream for our attention. Only if you are willing, only if you are open, only if you are willing to do the work of self-actualization, only if you are ready to atone for a past rooted and grounded in the racial divide, and only if you are uncomfortable enough, inconvenienced enough, restless enough, angry enough, tired enough to atone for our complicity in the continued refusal to accept many of us for who we are, evil personified, will you be able to hear those cries? But once you do, you cannot unhear them. Henceforth, now and throughout all of your humanity, you are responsible for engaging in the work of racial healing. And so here and now, we invite you to fall silent, to center yourself, and listen for the cries of our people, your people, America's people, and then pledge to do something about it. Join me in silence as we hear the names of those victimized by domestic terrorism. Listen for the cry of their blood. You want me to name them?
You can. You're welcome to do so. I wanted to just show the names, but you are welcome to say the names. And I also would invite um, you all to put in the chat any names that you have on your heart and that you know of who were victims in the chat box. And just for time's sake, Dr. Denise Danelle, which is why I kind of scrolled the names there, but we are opening this up to anyone who'd like to put a name or write a name in the chat box to honor that individual or individuals. Show 41 here. There was actually a 42. I think Kwame did some editing. But these are the names. And these names will also be placed on our APJMM webpage. Thank you, Dr. Denise Danelle, for that amazing. I don't want to call it a speech. What do you call it, Dr. Denise? A tribute. Thank you for that tribute, and thank you for your words. They mean so much, and we appreciate you. There's some things in the chat. What I want to do is, for time's sake, because we kind of got started a little late, just with time mix up and everything that's going on today. I want to end it with the fact that we saw today I'm sorry, I'm reading what Barbara's saying. Okay. I'm going to read out loud what Barbara said, and then I'm going to wrap up. I am a trainer and facilitator, and I have done training in diversity, finally developing a curriculum on African American history. It does not include slavery. That is white history. I focus on African American successes whenever we never learn about, I'm sorry. We don't learn about it either. I'm spelling things in there, but of us as in people. They do not learn about the Black towns, the Black professionals, and educators and nations to think of us as people and not victims. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for that. And so as we are needing to wrap up so that we can do our mini film and our panel today, this evening, we are doing Vilified. And this is a local filmmaker who just from his son experiencing race decided to do a documentary. And this documentary basically talks about the killing of John Carter. So there will be a panel with some ancestors and some other individuals that'll be talking about this horrific event, but talking also be, who is the filmmaker, will also be on panel to talk about the film. And so please stay tuned for that and log in to that because we'll be doing that film, and then again there will be a panel discussion and you can ask. What I was saying today was we experienced an inauguration, and in that inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we were able to, at least for a few minutes, for a few moments, a few hours, experience some empathy from the leader of our country and leaders of our country. And so I was able to, for those hours, appreciate what was said and also be very humble for the direction that this country needs to go in. And if the words that we get are to be so, then I am full. I wanted to leave you with the thought of that feel like empathy was unleashed. The poet was so beautiful. The poetry was so fitting, and I'm just hopeful for how we interact with one another in our country. So and I just want to thank you, each of you, us, and for joining me in the lifting of names. I want to say hands, but definitely joining us in the lifting of names and remember those victims and respecting and honoring them and also their families. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. And again, stay tuned for the mini film and the panel discussion. And for all of the coming for the rest of the week for the National Day of Racial Healing in the state of Arkansas. Dr. Denise Donnell for taking the time out of your schedule with the time off thing that I even agreed with, because this has been such a crazy day. I apologize so much for just jumping on and what you do so beautifully, always. Thank you so much. Thank you, UCA. Thank you to all of us and all of our partners. We really appreciate you, and we say good night and peace.